Performing is like 10% of it. The other
Mhm.
90% is pretty brutal. If prioritizing myself outside of my career is considered lazy, then call me the lazy ballerina.
In this episode, you're going to hear what it actually looks like to take everything an industry told you was wrong with you and build something that matters out of it. We talk about identity, we talk about what it costs to pour yourself into a career, therapy, breaking contracts, and what's waiting on the other side when you finally decide you're done shrinking. If this is already hitting, make sure to hit the follow and subscribe button and send this to one person who needs to hear it. Now let's get into it. Welcome back to Kicking It Real. I'm here with Goldie, who is a retired professional ballet dancer who danced with BalletMet, Kansas City Ballet, turned full-time teacher, content creator, and founder of the Lazy Ballerina Club. She has built a brand around the idea that you are a human being first and a dancer second, which I am obsessed with, and I know you guys are going to be obsessed with. So welcome, Goldie, to Kicking It Real.
Thank you so much. I am so excited to chat with you, and I feel like we have so much in common that we can talk for 1,000 years.
I know. Isn't it crazy that so many people kind of have the same feelings and thoughts on things? And I always tell pretty much every guest, I'm like, you need to probably come back for a part 2 because we get going and then I get sidetracked because we have a million things we could dive deeper into. But
Totally.
we're gonna get it all covered today. It's great.
Yay.
Just to warm it up, what have you been kicking it with lately?
Okay. I know that I'm probably not the first person to say this, and it's so silly, but I have been obsessed with Summer House, especially with all of the drama. I
Mm,
love any reality TV, like all of the junk, give it to me. So that's what
yes.
I've been obsessed with.
So funny. You're taking me back. My last season, everyone in my dressing room was obsessed with Summer House. Is it a lot of seasons though?
Yes, you can binge it and it's so good. I mean, it's like trash TV, but that's like my favorite,
I think the only
unfortunately.
reason I haven't gotten into it is because we're like very big, like short trash TV, like a season, like Love is Blind. I mean, that's not that, I mean,
Totally.
a little bit, but like reality, like
Yeah.
where it's one season and then you can move on. But maybe it's my
Yes.
sign to get
You
into
have
it.
to. You
I love
have to.
What are you kicking to the curb?
Okay, this one is difficult for me, but I have to stop eating Nerds gummy clusters as much as I do. And this is like terrible because I'm addicted. Like in the same way that I'm addicted to trash TV, I'm also addicted to like junk, like gummy clusters, anything gummy,
Mm,
anything made in a lab. That's for me.
that's for me.
So,
This is gonna sound like I'm making this up, but that was also our dressing room, like obsession was the nerd clusters. Like
I
it
mean,
would be
like once you start, you can't stop.
because it's weird because I'm not like a nerd person. Like
Yeah.
they're fine, but something about the clusters, I don't know what they
Ugh,
sprinkle in those.
I
There is
know. It's
something
so bad.
I'm the
But
same
I'm
way. I'm
trying to kick it to the curb.
take it to the
So,
curb. Yeah, because I don't know about you, but I also have all the gut issues. So I'm like, maybe I should start having whole foods and eat well.
yeah.
What a
Like,
concept.
maybe this is why I have a headache every evening. Maybe it's the Nerds Gummy Clusters addiction and maybe not drinking water ever, but that's
It's
another
always the
conversation.
the drinking water as I have my full Stanley
But
from
yeah,
yesterday. But
full,
great.
will I drink it? I don't know,
Haven't
but
touched
it's
it. It's
there.
it's there for a reminder. It's fine. But
Yes.
we're gonna go back to the beginning just to set the stage for everyone. Could you give like a very brief Cliff Notes version of how you grew up training in dance and what that kind of looked like in your journey to Ballet Mat to Kansas City Ballet?
Yes. So I grew up in LA and I never went to like a fancy schmancy studio. I feel like nowadays, in order to become a professional, everyone thinks that they have to go to like a conservatory or like something, I don't know, boarding school. But I grew up at a local studio and after my sophomore year in high school, then I went to homeschooling so I could really prioritize my ballet. And then after that, I went to Washington, D.C. to train at the Washington School of Ballet for a year before I got my first contract with BalletMet, was there for a year, and then went over to Kansas City Ballet for 5 seasons before moving to Boston, January 2020, right before COVID. So that was really perfect timing. But here I am now.
But here you are now. And also
Yeah.
interesting for LA. I am not familiar deeply with the LA scene or as much with the ballet scene. Is that common for people to come from LA into ballet?
It's interesting because, like, when you think of LA, it's a major city. There should be all of the funding in the world for ballet, but it's just not the priority out there because of movies, TV, commercial dance. Like, that really takes over out there. But there are so many amazing schools and studios that, I mean, I don't know. I guess, like, I know a bunch of people that became professionals from LA, but it definitely isn't, like, the first thing that people think of, for
Yeah,
sure.
like the first pipeline, and also the whole concept of going to boarding school and, like, doing that later.
Yeah.
Just this is me being nosy. Is that kind of the pipeline for ballet companies? Or can you I feel like that's a little harder to get into the older you get.
Yes, definitely. So, like, New York City Ballet, for example, in order to get into New York City Ballet, you have to attend School of American Ballet, and that's how you get into the company, and that is full boarding school, and that's typically, like, people leave home at, like, 11, 12, 13, 14, which is insane, but, like, a lot of major companies, that's kind of the approach. I felt I also actually had, like, an interesting story. I was never, like, the little girl that looked at their mom and said, "I wanna be a ballerina when I grow up." It was much later when I decided that this was what I wanted to do as a career, so it wasn't until I was, like, 16, 17 where I was like, "I don't wanna go to college, I think I really wanna make this happen." So, going to the Washington School of Ballet when I was 18 just felt like I was ready, I was kind of an adult, not really an adult at all, but a little bit more of a person than if I went at like 11, 12. I don't know. I probably would have burnt out, you know?
Yeah. Well, I love that you say that too, because anytime during Rockettes, it was, oh, when did you know? Like on different interviews and things, when did you know? And so many people are like, oh, well, I've been going since I was 5 and I just knew. But I'm the same as you, where I grew up and I loved dance and I was good at it. But it wasn't until I was in high school where I was like, okay, I can kind of see that there's actually a career that can be made out of this. So it
Yes.
doesn't have to be like, a romantic story since, like,
No,
the day I was born.
definitely. Totally, and, like, I love those stories that, like, when you're 3 years old, you knew that's what you wanted to do, but especially with dance and ballet, it's so insane to even know what that actually means. Like, sure, the, like, idea in your head of becoming a ballerina sounds so amazing and magical, but, like, the reality of it, which I'm sure we're gonna get into, is very different. So I'm very grateful that it took me a second before I really made that decision.
'Cause you actually had a little bit of a frontal lobe to be like, "Oh, I do consciously want to do this," not just
For sure.
I'm sure there were some things that weren't exactly what you thought, which was actually what I wanted to get into was the
Yes.
expectations versus reality of both auditioning in the US circuit and then being in professional ballet companies.
Yes, there's a big, like, Instagram versus reality moment.
Mhm.
Um, but, I mean, there are also amazing things with everything, and again, I'm so grateful for the career that I did have, but it definitely was a shock to the system entering the professional world, especially, like, growing up in LA like a normal person, I don't know, pretty
Yeah.
crazy.
I mean, it and like you said, it's not even necessarily in a bad way because there are so many glamorous things about it and amazing things, but I think that's just with a lot of things, especially with social media, you see the highlights of things, and to
Definitely.
me, I also think expectations are everything. So you can be prepared, you know what I
Yes.
mean, to, like, go into it versus being so blindsided where you're like, "Wait, what is this
Mhm,
all like, what happened
mhm.
with this?" What was your favorite moment, if you had to pick one?
Oh my gosh, that's hard. My favorite moment of my career? Oh god. I have a couple of favorite moments.
Okay,
I
that's fine.
think the biggest turning point of my, like, ballet journey was when I decided to become a professional. It was, like, I think I was 17, 16, turning 17, and that year I kind of went all in, and it was a really amazing year to really see, like, my hard work paying off in
Mm,
real time. It was, like, that first time where everything felt like it was falling into place, and I got a scholarship to the Washington School of Ballet, and That was a big milestone, and then, getting my first contract, it felt like, "Holy shit." Can I curse on this?
Yeah, of
Okay,
course.
amazing. Like, "Holy shit." Like, I did it. Like, that was such a big accomplishment, and then, being able to do, like, bucket list ballets from choreographers I've been dreaming of working with, and um, just getting to dance on stages that I had no idea I was going to ever be able to be on. I've had so many amazing career moments. I can't pick one.
Do love what you said about the momentum aspect of it, of when you were getting
Yes.
scholarships, and I relate to that, and it is such a hard thing to kinda describe to people, and it's not in a cocky way of like, "Oh, I know this is gonna happen," but there is a shift, and I don't know if it's just the accumulation of, like, the mental work, the physical work that you have to do to accomplish that, but there was a moment for me too, like, in New York of like, "Wait, no, this is actually gonna happen, like, things are happening in the right way," and then you can kinda go into auditions with that sense of trust and just
Yes.
like, "Wait, no, like, I belong to be here," instead of that, like, reaching kind of feeling in that sense.
Definitely. Yes. And I feel like, especially when it comes to auditions, I feel like rock cat auditioning and ballet company auditioning, they're very, very different, but it's that same, like, cutthroat mentality. I feel like every time I went into an audition, I had, like, this, like, ignorance and, like, this blind confidence that I need to get back now that I'm an adult, but, when I was younger, I didn't know enough. So, like, I went in and I was like, "Oh, this is like a fun game." Like, everyone thinks I'm crazy, but I love a cattle call audition, which to some
Wait,
people,
that
that's like a nightmare. I know,
yeah, that's
it's crazy.
interesting.
But, like, in my head, a cattle call audition, like, we're all on the same playing field. We're going in, and there's this camaraderie that you can build together. Like, okay, this thing that we're doing is crazy and insane. So, like, let's do it together. Let's make it fun. And I have, like, so many amazing memories from, like, cattle call auditioning. Then you, like, meet friends and you're in it
Mhm.
together. Um, but people
Yeah.
do think I'm crazy for that take.
No, but I feel like it maybe came from that sense of inner confidence, and I think the naivety is really big as well, but again, same thing where, like, the girl that I auditioned with my year, like, we were all it was fresh out of COVID, so we were all friends, we were
Oh
all
my
training
gosh.
together, so then instead of when other groups are going, I don't know exactly how ballet auditions are run, but when other groups were going, I wasn't like, "Oh gosh, I have to be better than them." I'm like, "Okay, go off, like, good for you," and
Exactly.
it's just like, you have nothing to lose at that point. Anyways, that's not my whole point of this episode, but I do love
Yeah.
how we can relate on
Yes.
that, which going into your starting to transition out of performing, was there a moment that you felt like ballet switched from something that you did to more of your identity, or was it like a ongoing long thing for you?
It's so interesting because I didn't even realize how much of my identity was wrapped up in my ballet career until I walked away. I
Mm,
always viewed myself as like the most normal dancer, which no dancer is normal. I feel like we can
true.
just say that. We're all a little bit crazy in the best way, but my whole entire life, I made it a point to keep my balance. So even though I was homeschooled towards the end of my high school, I still made it to prom. I still made it to the
Oh.
parties, and I carried that through my career as much as I could. So I thought I was, like, pretty sane and normal, and then when I stepped away, I was like, "Oh my god." My entire identity was wrapped up in my ballet
Mhm.
career and my self-worth, and it took me a really, really, really long time to kind of, like, undo a lot of the thinking that I had in my ballet career
Yeah.
because when you're in it, it fully consumes your entire existence because it's demanding, everything revolves around it. So it really takes a second once you walk away to be like, "Oh my goodness, I don't know who I am and I don't even know who I wanna be,"
Yeah.
you know? So
When you were in it, though, and you felt like you had that balance, did you ever feel guilt that you had that balance when you were in it?
yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean,
Same.
I was told, like, "The reason why I am not getting X, Y, and Z is because of you're not working enough, you're not going to the gym enough, you're not kissing ass enough. That was a big one that I struggled with. There's a lot of kissing ass in the ballet world that I was just like, "Oh my god, I
I
it's not worth
can't.
it to me." No.
That's I relate so hard where I was like, "Listen, I don't have the energy." Like, I just simply don't, especially when you're trying to live your life outside of it, but I
Yeah.
think that's the caveat of, like, I have a life outside of this, so kissing ass to certain people, like, isn't a priority because I'm here
No.
because I love it and I enjoy it and I wanna be better, not to be a favorite or whatever that looks like
Exactly.
in that way.
Exactly.
Ooh, feel that, feel that.
Tricky.
It's a slippery slope, but you also you talked about you have talked about therapy is being your saving grace, and you started it while
Yes.
you were dancing and continued it after. And I feel correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like it's not still fully accepted, the concept of therapy and mental health in the ballet and the dance world in general. I think
Mhm.
it's getting better. What made you able to be like, "You know what? I don't even care what other people think, like, I know I need to do this," and, like, take care of yourself and take that ownership?
Yeah, so therapy is a crazy thing because the thing that brings you to therapy might not be the reason why you stay in therapy. And that
Mm,
was like definitely what happened with me. I went into therapy because of like a crisis I was dealing with in my personal life at the time. And then when I continued to stay in therapy, it opened up the door to all of these things that I didn't even know I needed to work through, like in
mm,
my ballet career. And it truly was the thing that got me from my ballet career into that transition, and now that I'm on the other side, I feel so grateful for all of the tools that I learned, and I always joke to myself, like, if I was in a ballet company now with everything that I learned and all of the chapters since,
mhm,
I would be unstoppable. Like, I just feel like I could enjoy it so much more, and I wouldn't
mm.
read into things as much because when you're in a ballet company, you take everything so personally.
You're in a
Every
bubble.
look yes, you're so in a bubble, and as much as you love the girls that you're dancing with, it is a competition. You're all fighting for that one thing at the end of the day. So it's really
Yeah.
hard to keep your head when you're in it. So,
Yeah, it's like that unspoken like, you love everyone, but also, "Hey, like, you got that, and I didn't." And, like, I don't actually resent you, but, like, there is that it just it's such a spiral,
it's
and
hard.
I feel so similarly only being 1 year out, I'm like, "Oh, there are so many things that would have helped me so much," even just, like, on my own reflection and being able to step out of it because when you're in a company, it's just everything feels like life or death. Everything is
Yeah.
such a big deal, and
Yes.
it's hard to have a support system because even if you know, your mom, your significant other, your best friend that's not a dancer, like, no one really gets it, even
Mhm.
other dancers except people who are in the company. So, what
Yes.
a great tool to have a therapist in
Yes.
that way. Do you feel like it changed any other aspects of you, maybe in your relationships or just like your mental outside of dance, both when you started and now as it's ongoing?
Oh, yeah. I don't know that person before therapy. Like, I cringe at myself, and I love who I was. She was great. She got me where I am today, but holy shit, like, I actually had to make some amends, like, after I got into therapy because I felt like I really started looking at myself, and I was at the point in my life where I was 24, 25,
Mhm.
26. So it's that period of your life is a big, transitional time
Yeah.
anyways. Um, but it changed everything. It changed my relationships, it changed how I view people, how I spoke to people, how I viewed myself. I was much more, like, loving to myself and, um, empathetic for people that I used to dance with or that I interact with now because when I was in a company before therapy, I was just like so self-absorbed and not in like a toxic negative way, just of like we're trying to get things done. We're trying to like accomplish our goals and dreams. So we don't really have time to think about everyone else in that moment, as
Mhm.
crazy as that sounds. But, there were certain dancers that I danced with that I would look at them and I just couldn't understand, like, how their brain worked. I'm like, "Why is she doing this, and why is she doing that, and why is she kissing ass and stealing my spot in the studio?" And all of these things. So instead of, like, viewing it as, like, a negative, I could have empathy for those people, and I can, like, support them from a place of, like, they're not doing it to me,
Yeah.
it's their stuff that they have to work through.
Mm.
Um, yeah, it changed everything.
I don't wanna spend too much time on this, but
Yeah.
what do you say to people that are maybe similar to our headspace of like, "Hey, I see all these people, like, trying to be a favorite and doing all these things," and then you feel guilty that you're not doing it, but then you, like, can't force yourself to do it. It doesn't have to it could be from therapy, but what is something you would say to that person?
My goodness gracious. I would say to remember who you are and remember what you are trying to get out of this situation. Because at the end of the day, like, sure, you can kiss ass and get the role or to get the thing that you're trying to get, but is it gonna feel good if you get it in that way? Or is it gonna feel better if you are true to yourself? You stand for, stand within yourself and just like be confident, and things usually end up working out better than you can even realize when you just like are confident, you know,
Yeah, and,
but
like,
it's
the
hard.
right things. It's so hard, and, like, the right
Yeah.
things start to come to you, and
Yeah.
I think everyone learns eventually that it's not the way to, like, go about
No.
things, but that's okay. Um, moving into your transition period a little bit, I know we kind of already touched on the grief process of it,
Yes.
but walk us through the timeline a little bit of, like, leaving and then entering COVID and then Lazy Ballerina Club, like, kind of beginning.
Yes. So that timeline was very tricky because when I decided to leave, it was right before Nutcracker, so like the beginning of December. So I had no idea COVID was about to happen.
Damn.
I
Your
Yeah, it's
intuition.
crazy. Crazy.
Yeah.
And, there were things that were happening with the company that I was a part of that there were things that I was putting up with for a while that I knew I didn't wanna put up with anymore, and then it just reached a breaking point, like, I need to make a change, I need to prioritize myself, as scary as that was, and everyone around me was saying, "Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it," and I kind of just, like, closed my
Interesting.
eyes and trusted my gut, um,
Yeah, and, like,
which
that
was
moment,
scary.
I don't know if you had that moment of, like, "Wait, I'm an adult and I'm choosing to do this." Like, that's
Well,
kind of
that was,
you're
like,
like
the entire turning point where, like, I had autonomy over my decisions, and it was terrifying because especially as dancers, we're used to, asking for permission, like, the front of the room, like, we
Mhm.
can't do anything, we can't think, they're gonna tell us what we can and cannot do. So that was really, really scary, and I did it, I left, but my plan was to keep dancing and audition and, um, just, like, take a breather from that company. So, I moved to Boston, and I was showing up to Boston Ballet. I was supposed to do Swan Lake with them, and I was actually in company class at Boston Ballet when COVID happened, which was crazy. And so COVID happened, everyone started
Man.
dancing in their living rooms, and I just, like, could not do it. I would rather die than do a ballet class in my living room,
It's
and
ballet of all things too, like, how are we gonna turn like, we don't have a floor
it
for
was
that, that's
terrible.
what are you gonna leap,
It was
like, into your
No,
couch?
I know. But it felt like every single person, every time I opened up my phone, everyone was doing a live class or everyone was doing a workout.
Yeah.
It just felt insane. So, during COVID, it gave me the space to start to question whether or not I even wanted to continue dancing, and I think without COVID, I probably would've kept going. I
Mm.
probably would have gotten a contract, I would have kept going for as long as I wanted to just because it was the thing that I always did, but because I had the space, I actually sat with myself and, um I just decided, like, is this the thing, you know? So I feel very grateful for the space. It was so difficult and, body image issues and identity issues that all came up. but
You're like,
I
"Thank God I have a therapist for this.
oh,
This is great."
exactly. Exactly, and I couldn't, like if I had little like, a magic crystal ball to look into the future, I would not believe where I'm at today. It's crazy. It
Isn't that
really
the
is.
coolest thing though? And like listening to your gut is so scary, especially when it's a big change like that. And
Yes,
I don't know, it's very interesting because our stories in that way are very similar, but we also kind of grew up in the same headspace of like, wait, I already kind of knew I wanted to prioritize other things outside of dance. And I don't know if
yes,
you've ever had that feeling of when I was growing up feeling that way. I'm like, am I less of a dancer for feeling this way? Like,
for
and
sure.
it kind of messes with you a bit, but then it's just there's so many stepping stool. It can just be a stepping stool to like what you're kind of meant to do. I understand obviously the brand, and I think it's amazing. What do quote regular people sometimes think the name means versus what it actually means?
Yes. So it's funny when people hear my brand, the Lazy Ballerina Club, they always like kind of giggle to themselves. They're like, well, that's funny. Ballerinas aren't lazy. Like, what are you talking about? Which,
Genius.
like, obviously they're not lazy and it's like a full like play on words. But my entire life, because I've tried to keep the balance, I've always been labeled as lazy. Everything has been, oh, you have so much potential, but you're a little lazy. Even though I had a personal trainer, I would wake up, I would go to the gym before my 8-hour rehearsal day. But if I didn't do that one extra step, I was lazy, which is
That
so
is
funny.
insane that people
Insane.
said that to
Insane.
you.
Yeah, my whole entire life. But, I wanted to take my power back and redefine the word lazy. So, I mean, to become a professional ballet dancer, you can't have a drop of laziness. It's just like impossible. Same with rocket, same with anything that you dedicate your life to. So, it's just a play on words. And if prioritizing myself outside of my career is considered lazy, then call me the lazy ballerina because
I'll own
that's the
it.
priority. Yeah, exactly.
Well,
So, that's where it came from.
it's actually so iconic. I was talking to one of my Rockette friends and she was like, "You need to, like, ask her to come on the podcast because how iconic, like, that she made an insult and turned it into a brand," which is actually insane, like, in the best way. Do you have any marketing background or are you just are naturally a genius?
Don't. Oh my gosh, I'm so not a genius, but thank you so much. I don't have any marketing background, but I'm very, very, sarcastic and, not that I like to jab, but I'm not afraid to, like, you know,
Mm. Yeah.
get get right in there, especially now that I've walked away and I'm not a part of a company. I think that has allowed me to really talk about everything because I'm not concerned. I'm not worried about getting fired or I don't know, getting in trouble.
Yeah, what a freedom to have. So
It's
freeing.
beautiful. It's
How when
amazing.
you it's evolved into what it is today. Did it start with this idea behind it, or was it just you had posted and then it kind of evolved? What was the evolution like?
Yes. So when I first started the Lazy Ballerina Club, it was like my COVID passion project. I wanted it to become a blog and then have a YouTube channel to like kind of assist the blog. And then I wrote a couple of blog posts. And I'm like, ugh, I like talking to the camera way better. I can just like word vomit.
Mhm.
Um, but it really started after I broke my contract and I left ballet. It just felt like I wanted to share that process because there was no one really talking about it. And breaking your contract in the ballet world in the dance industry is so taboo. Everyone thinks that you're going to be blacklisted and you'll never get a job again. And it's just like the biggest not to do. So I just felt like I wanted to share my story and help other dancers that were going through the same thing and really talk about like the bullshit that we put up with in like a not so pretty way. And a lot of people now are talking about things. But again, when you're a part of a company, you can only say so much, you know? You don't you have to keep your job and we
Sure
don't have a
do.
lot of job security in the dance world, so I understand it and the conversation becoming more popular is amazing, but I do feel grateful that I could just let it rip back then. Yeah.
Yeah, so freeing. I love the concept of,
Yes.
like, not having ties so you could it's so interesting, which I see both sides of it because companies, have to have whatever kind of reputation they're trying to have, but at the end of the day, like, I always am like, if you just didn't give people bad things to say, you wouldn't have to be, so worried, which that's
Yeah.
interesting.
What a concept.
What an interesting concept, which we can get into in a second. But I
Yeah.
did also want to ask, was there a specific video or post that you were like, "Oh, wow, like this is actually like bigger than me and like this is taking off?" And how long yeah, what was that like?
Let me think. Well, my first, like, viral video was actually, um it didn't really have anything to do with what I talk about, but it was, like,
Of course.
behind the scenes of yeah, it's, like, always the random one.
Yep.
It was behind the scenes of Swan Lake, and it was all of us backstage. There was, like, smoke on the stage, and we were all kind of, like, getting into place as, like, normal people, even though we were in
Mhm.
tutus, and people, like, loved that, and I was like, "Okay, I guess I'll keep posting." Like, I don't know.
I'll
Um
play the game.
yeah, why not? And then I think what kind of like launched me into, I don't know, gaining a following, I started reviewing ballet summer intensives, which I still get messages about, which was such a random video at the time. I was like, okay, I have nothing to post. Let me like talk about this. But I think people appreciated my honesty and I think when you're growing up as a dancer, you think every opportunity is the most important opportunity. So if you get into this big summer program, you have to go. But if you didn't get into to this one, you're not going to become a professional. And I think it's all BS. If I'm fully being honest,
Mhm.
um, so that was like a big one that kind of launched everything.
Yeah, that's real. And I mean, it's that whole I mean, that kind of is your concept too of breaking down the walls and like this is what
Yeah,
it actually takes and it doesn't have to be so black and white and
yeah.
I could not love that more. I also should have probably started this. If people somehow don't know who you are, can you also give like a rundown of what it is today, what it consists of?
Yes, oh my gosh, it's evolved over the years. So right now, the Lazy Ballerina Club is a brand, and we actually had our second drop a couple of weeks ago.
I need to
Um,
get something also. I've been
yes.
meaning
Oh,
to.
send me your address. I'll send you.
Oh, I'm gonna rock it all the time. Okay.
No, I have to send you. But our first drop was last year, and we launched with this crew neck sweatshirt and said human first on it, which has basically been my tagline and my mentality since starting the Lazy Ballerina Club. And it ties into that whole identity conversation and just remembering that you're so much more than the label that you've decided on. So you're so much more than a rockette. You're so much more than being a ballet dancer because that was definitely something that I had to work on once I left. So it's a brand, it's a TikTok, it's an Instagram, it's a YouTube, it's all the things, but the mission behind it is just to remind everyone that it's okay to prioritize
Yeah.
yourself and just keeping that conversation going.
Is there a certain issue, quote, issue that you see in your community that comes up the most frequently? Because I also love how you're very focused on how can we take, you've said autonomy a few times, which I love that word
Yes.
for dance specifically, that there's an issue that dancers experience a lot and that there what ways they can start to try to take autonomy back.
Yes. I think the conversation around like mental health and mental wellness in the dance world, there's a lot of focus on the front of the room and the directors and the toxic teachers and the
Hmm.
generational trauma that we've all dealt with, which is amazing. But my approach is kind of just like looking at ourselves and looking at like what can we do to take our power back and what can we control because I can't control that teacher that I'm dealing with. I can't control that
Hmm.
person who's sitting and judging me, but I can control myself and I can control how I view myself and how I talk to myself. And I think a big, big issue that I see dancers have and what I struggled with was not having my own voice and not
Mm,
feeling confident in my voice. And and it's really, really, really difficult to stand with yourself and speak your mind and kind of, like, believe what you're saying, especially I'm not sure if you had to do these, but we had meetings with our directors twice a year, and I remember before each meeting, whether it was a positive meeting or a negative meeting, I would be so scared that I would just cry. Like, I I cried before, I cried during, I cried after, to the
Like,
point
why
where
do we do that?
yeah,
Yes.
like, one of the teachers looked at me and he was like, "We like you. Why are you crying?" But I was so scared and nervous, and it meant so much to me that I, like I couldn't speak, and I think that's a major thing that I've had to work on and something that I would love for more dancers to remember, like, you do have a voice, and you are allowed to speak, you
It
know?
is so interesting because I moving, into this space more from being a physical dancer. I mean, I think there's
Yes,
a lot of different facets to maybe why that is, but even just having to focus so much on your physical craft that it's not even a muscle that we train to be able to speak. Like, I even find myself to this day, I'm in a course right now, and there are men and women, and none of them are dancers. They're all random. They're all random people, and I'm, like, afraid to ask a question. It's something I'm working on where I'm like, "Why can't I even get myself to ask a question right now?" Like, I perform on
totally.
stage for 6,000 people, but I can't be like, "Hey, like, I have input." It's
God
so interesting.
forbid I had to speak on a stage, like, that is my nightmare. I had to make a speech at my brother's wedding, and I'm sweating just thinking about it. Put me on a stage in pointe shoes, I can shake my booty, I can twirl around, like, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. I'm not nervous at all, but the talking, it really is exactly what you said, it is a muscle, you do have to practice, and it gets easier with time,
Yes.
but it's really hard. It's hard.
Yeah. Do you think that some of it comes from a little bit of that people-pleasing place as well? Back to the specific of directors and meetings and one-on-ones. I know for me, especially like we talked about the bubble, all you care about is, am I doing a good job? Am I enough? Do I need that external validation? And then we don't go
Mhm.
in confident and don't know how to speak on top of
Yeah.
it.
Oh, yeah, it's full on people pleasing, like, to its core. I'm a big people pleaser. I'm always trying to I don't wanna get in trouble. I don't wanna say the wrong thing. I don't want anyone to, I don't know, be mad at me for anything, God
Mhm.
forbid.
God
But there
forbid.
yeah, God forbid. Oh my gosh. But there is a way to, speak your mind, and if anything, you're more respected if you do,
Yeah.
because when you are a young dancer well, this is, like, a tricky conversation, actually, now that I'm saying it out loud, like, when you are a young dancer, unfortunately, these directors love a young dancer because they can kind of take advantage of them, and they kind of steer away from those confident dancers, but when I'm saying, like, to speak your mind, I'm not saying to, like, go up to your director and say, "F you." It's just you have to, like, you have to keep your self-respect, like, you don't wanna lose yourself just because you wanna be the sugar plum fairy, like, is it worth it? In
Yeah.
my opinion, I don't think it is, but
I
people
think
feel differently.
yeah, and I feel like it kind of all ties together of being able to have the confidence to speak, but then also not caring so much about kissing ass and also then having that confidence in yourself, and it's so multifaceted. What's your take on dancers who are still in companies and want to have all these things, but unfortunately, like we said, dancers aren't actually, but it's kind of made to be that we're very replaceable.
Yes.
And so then it's like, what's the line in your opinion?
It's such a hard
I
question.
know.
I think nowadays, like, with social media and everything that we have, there's such an opportunity to make yourself valuable outside of the studio to this company. You are more than just a dancer in this building, and, I mean, we can get into, like, the nitty-gritty of, like, these companies have millions of dollars, and for some reason, they're not paying the dancers even though without the dancers, they don't have anything, but that's another conversation. But there are so
Sure
many
is.
ways to be valuable, um, that has nothing to do with your dancing. So, I don't know, not saying that, like, in order to be successful, you need a TikTok, but it is kind of like a resume at this point, you know?
Mhm.
Like, how are you gonna market yourself, um, outside of this little ballet company? And I think ballet companies are kind of getting with the program a little bit,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, and I think I agree with that too in the evolution. Even just my 3 years as a Rockhead, I think it's evolved. I think I was one of the first people to kind of start posting a little bit about stuff behind the scenes because at first it I mean, it's a gray area for both dancers and the companies of like, what can this evolve into? And I was posting a bit when I was still in the company. And I think there's a way to like be authentic, but still be respectful and still keep the brand image alive and stay in line with the company's morals. But I think that is
Yes,
so important too. And it's something that I wish I would have done sooner because there is such a power in social media and it's growing. And I do also wish dancers would think a little bit more long term in that regard.
definitely.
And it's like, it's just so, like you said, I just posted a video of us backstage, like whatever. People want to like see behind the glass, like what's going on back there,
Yes,
which I get it. It's a cool glamorized job. So you're like, what's actually going on back
for
there?
sure, for sure. And, like, when you or at least, like, when I started talking about all of the things, if I'm fully being honest, when I first started talking, I did have, like, anger. I, like, was coming from a place of, like, resentment and anger, but it turned into this, like, healing journey, and that was the beauty of starting when I did. I wanted to talk about the things that I was actually going through instead of, like, looking back on that
Mm,
chapter. But there is a way to talk about it in a beautiful way of just because, like, I love ballet, and just because I want it to change a little bit doesn't take anything away from it. There's beauty in, loving a thing and still wanting it to continue to grow, and I think that is kind of my perspective now, especially a million years set aside or after I stepped away, now I can re-enter the world with fresh eyes and have this, like, new appreciation for it that I didn't have when I first walked away. I was, like,
yeah.
anti. I was like, "Don't look at me. My leotards are under the bed. I don't even wanna take a ballet class." So it took a
Hmm.
while,
Well, that's
definitely.
really inspiring for me because I am like fresher on my journey and
Yes.
I completely agree where actually cuz I had decided to not go back in around April what's the month before that March April time frame but I how Rockets works too there's an April audition call to re-audition and then there's another one in August so I did not go to April and I was
Mm,
like okay, like, let me you have to process it yourself, and, like, I did have a couple moments over the summer, I'm like, "Should I just go to August? Am I making a
mm,
mistake? Like, should I actually do it?"
totally.
And so, in that time frame, though, of that, and then making the final decision, and then being like, "Okay, I can, like, announce it to, like, the rest of the world, not just by close friends and family that I'm not going back," I I had this process of, like, I'm not a dancer, like, my content, if you go back, it was, like, so lifestyle. It was, like,
Totally.
everything that I was thinking I needed to try to be to not be a dancer, where now that I've had time to, like, kinda get the I mean, there's of course, you're still angry at certain things, but, like,
Sure.
being able to be that voice of, "Let's take your power back," there is beauty
Yeah.
in it, and I love the dancing, and it's separating the dance and the art from the institutions a little bit.
Definitely. Definitely. It was never
Yeah.
the dancing that I hated. I love dancing, I love performing, and that's, like, the most heartbreaking part. It's people don't realize that performing is, like, 10% of it. The other
Mhm.
90% is pretty brutal, and there's not so many glamorous moments, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's I also kind of refer to it as, like, a toxic relationship, like, I was so done that I couldn't look at it. I couldn't have any conversations with any of my friends that were still in it, and I
Mhm.
was trying to, like, separate myself so much that I did something very similar. I was like, "I'm not a dancer. I'm not even gonna talk about it. I don't need it. This is not me anymore." Um, but we can be all of it. You can be a dancer, you can be a teacher, you can be a whatever you want, and it doesn't take anything away from any of the chapters that
Yeah,
you might not be in anymore.
1,000%. If someone is currently in that toxic relationship with dance, now knowing what you do know, is there something that can maybe help them through the toxic relationship without having to leave it?
Yes, I think a big thing, um, that helped me was finding little things outside of the studio, whether that's a hobby, maybe you start crocheting, needlepoint is like a cute little thing people are doing now.
So
Anything
cute.
to yeah, like so cute. Anything to get you out of that like loop that I definitely was in your company. Like when I was in a ballet company, we would be together for 8 hours, and then we would all go and get dinner and drinks after, and we would talk about the 8 hours of rehearsal at dinner and drinks, and then we would restart the next day. That was the only thing that we would talk about, so just finding other things to talk about. Maybe it's a Pilates class and you meet Pilates friends, or just, like, finding a support system that has
Mhm.
nothing to do with your dancing career.
Yes, and it's so funny. Maybe you also have to be that person to kind of start that movement because I was telling about
Yes.
my best friend before this, Allie, who we both booked Rockettes at the same time, but we were there in New York for a year. Like we both moved right after COVID, and we were doing a dance intensive, and we hung out one of the nights we had just met each other, and I she always tells the story how I sat down and I was like she started maybe talking about something about dance or something, and I said, "I just can't talk about dance. Can we talk about something else?" And I started talking about boys.
Yes.
And she was like, "Whoa, I had never experienced that before," and it was so great. Like, that's
Yes.
crazy, and it's just like it's the same thing with anything. You just have to, like, take a break and step away, and literally with anything in life. Like, sometimes even when I'm sitting at my desk doing stuff on my computer all day, I'm like, "Okay, you know what? I'm burnt out. I just need to step away." You just have to know
Mhm.
when you're mentally sometimes there's mental burnout instead of
Yes.
physical burnout, which is
Yes.
very real things. Do you feel like now that you have what you have now, I like to try to say to maybe I'm still grieving, maybe that's why, but I'm like, maybe I was meant to be a dancer because I needed that experience to now be able to make change, to be able to create a community like you've done. Do
Mm.
you feel like it's helped keep some of that like dancer identity alive or anything like my
Yeah,
journey?
definitely. I think especially now I teach full time, so I am now trying, it's hard, trying to be that positive, voice and role model at the front of the room that I always wanted in my ballet career. So that is like a beautiful way that I keep dance in my life, but in a different way, you know? It's not the same journey and it's not the same path, but it's still a part of my life, and I fought it for a while after. Like, I got a normal person job when I left my ballet
What was
company.
it?
I worked at a preschool for a year, and I always
God
said my
bless your
entire life oh my gosh. It's funny because I said my entire life when I was done dancing, I wanted to be a preschool teacher since I was, like,
Oh,
little. And, so I tried it, and I was miserable, like, miserable. I gained 20 pounds, I was just depressed, and I missed that, like, movement part of my day. And then I found the studio that I teach at now, which whenever I talk about the studio that I teach at, I always refer to it as this, like, magical unicorn studio because it has, like, taken my love for dance and my love for teaching and kids and, like, blended the 2 together. Um, and it was like a cold email, like, in the middle of COVID, so I feel so, so, so grateful. Um, but I'm able to keep dance in my life in a way that feels manageable for me, and I get to, like, dip my toes in the world, and then I can get out and do whatever I want in the same
look at
breath.
that autonomy.
Yes,
You
and
teach little
I
littles?
Oh, I teach my youngest is 1, and I go all the way through seniors in high school, so I get all of them.
Oh,
Mm.
okay, because this is really the blend of your 2 dreams, though, like your
Yes.
preschool teacher and that but also this is completely unrelated, but what a miracle worker you are because to teach littles dance, I've told the story on a different episode of when I was in college, I taught at a studio and, uh, my night was great. I do well with older kids. I'm not the best with littles, and I had to teach this 2-year-old class, and there was 14 2-year-olds, and I had
Yeah.
no assistant and no training. I'm like, there needs to be like a literal training on how to teach those kids because I never got trained how to teach my or advanced classes, but I just knew like
Yeah.
that should have its own training.
For sure, and I definitely have some, gray hairs to show for all of the stress that they give me, but, um, it's challenging, that's for sure, and it's funny because people ask me which age I like the most because I have all of them, and I feel so grateful that I have all of them because when the older kids are driving me crazy, I get to go be a magical princess with the littles and then switch over, you
Yeah,
know? I get the
I,
best of both worlds.
that is very nice for you, and like
Yes,
to keep it
but they do
fresh.
drive me crazy, all of my kids, as much as I love them, and I love all of them.
Kids are,
Crazy.
yeah, in general, I feel like they do that. What is a main, as being a teacher, what is a main toxic bad cycle maybe that you are actively trying to break as a teacher now?
It's interesting because the studio that I'm at is not a ballet-focused studio, so I think teaching ballet at this specific school or any school that ballet isn't the focus, I'm just gonna say it, and I can say it because I do it. It's the hardest job in the world. So my approach is just, like, taking the dread out of that
Mm,
ballet class and making it a positive experience, letting the kids know that this is a judgment-free zone. I'm on their team. I'm not trying to body shame them, God forbid. I'm not trying to have it be a negative experience, and if anything, I kind of, like, could be a little bit more strict because there is beauty in that
yeah.
strictness and discipline, um, but I really try to have it be as enjoyable as possible and let them know that it is only to help them. It's not this chore that they have to do, and ballet can be really fun, and it's beautiful, and it doesn't have to be this toxic thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's so interesting because I grew up at a non-ballet, like, focused studio. I think I took extra ballet classes, and I think I took
Yep.
maybe 2 or 3 a week, but I always loved ballet, and I did not have a toxic teacher, so that definitely helps, but it's so interesting how certain kids gravitate, but I also, how
Yes.
much do you think it's the teacher, though? Much of it.
Yeah, I think it's a lot. It's a lot to do with the teacher, and I think they don't understand the connection, and especially now kids are so different now, I feel like, especially with social media and everything that they have, and the competitions are different, like, the focus is on so many other things, so they kind of approach ballet like, "Why are we even doing this?" Like, I don't understand. Um, I know, it's crazy, but I try to get them to understand, and even if they don't understand, at least they're having a good time and they're smiling in my class. That's, like, my
Yeah.
main priority.
Which I always joke too, maybe it's why I went into Rockettes and Precision because I loved the black and whiteness of ballet, where it was like, this
Yes.
is correct technique, this is not correct technique, or like you wear
Yep.
this to class, this is how you behave versus like, I don't know, like again, like we talked about too, expectations. Like there's just clear expectations and it does set people up for success in any avenue they wanna go
Yeah.
in because when you're dancing professionally, you have to know how to follow rules, for lack of a better way to say that.
Percent. And I feel like I can relate to those kids that might not necessarily like ballet because it took me a while to like ballet too. Like I thought I wanted to be a cheerleader or jazz
Oh.
dancer, all of these things, which God forbid. Grateful I stuck with ballet, but I could relate to that feeling of like, oh my gosh, I just want to be hanging out with my boys, but I have to go to a ballet class. Like, ugh,
Yeah.
how annoying. So, definitely like a journey with my kids.
Well, I'm
But
sure
it's
you're doing
fun.
great. I'm sure you're doing great,
Thank
and
you.
they have a great role model. What's your,
Thank you.
without, you don't have to, like, divulge too much, but what's your biggest, like, wildest dream for Lazy Ballerina Club?
Oh my goodness. There are so many things. I want to continue to grow it. I want to continue to drop new collections, and I'm actually doing something very exciting next week. I am partnering with Merit Beauty for they have this new
Okay.
campaign that Misty Copeland is actually the model for it, or they partnered with
Mhm.
her. So I'm actually hosting an adult ballet class with Merit Beauty next week. So I'm very excited about that, and hopefully to continue doing events like that for LBC and um, almost like what I was just saying with my kids, like ballet doesn't have to be this like intimidating, unapproachable thing. I want people to enjoy it and kind of, enter that world in a more like judgment-free way. And I think ballet is also having a moment, so just continuing to grow LBC for everybody to enjoy it.
Ballet is having a moment. Surely we got some good
Yes,
press a few
we
weeks
sure
ago.
did.
We
Yes,
sure did, which I'm like, "Honey, thank you. All press is good." No, I'm not in the professional ballet
totally.
world, but I'm like, "All press is good press. Thank you. Also, you're done, but, like,
100%. Yes,
we will
completely.
take it." Wait, okay, so cool. Also, when I come to visit
Yes.
Boston, I will give you some ample notice so you can, host a ballet class so I can come because I actually have
Oh my
not
god.
stepped foot in a dance class in over a year, probably. Wow.
Oh my
I've
goodness.
taught, but I haven't, like t and I'm kind of
Taken.
slowly starting to get that itch again, and also ballet is, like, my first love too, but I also think I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I'm all over the place. If anyone listening to doesn't wanna be a ballet dancer, but is, like has a weird relationship with ballet, I feel like the more you can, like, detach to and understand that it's a tool and it makes you
Yes.
better at everything, because I remember when I was in Chicago and I would take ballet classes because there weren't any jazz classes, like, really to take, so I was
Mhm.
like, "Okay, I wanna be a rockette," and I know ballet technique is really important, and I would go, and I was not the best. Like, I'm not a natural turner. I don't have flexibility. I can't really leap, but I'm like, "Okay, but I'm doing the bar and I'm focusing on how it's making me stronger and focusing on my
Yes.
technique and my artistry, and I don't have to look like a ballerina to be getting something from this and enjoy it and love
Totally.
it." So the more you can, like, detach the, like,
Yes.
outcome of it is so helpful. That
And
is
it can be meditative. Like, now when I take class, like, I honestly, like, kind of don't even look at the mirror because in my head, my legs are still way up there, even
Well,
though they're
exactly.
kind of, like, 45 degrees. So now I just enjoy it and kind of, like, view it as, like, a yoga class. Like, I can go over and take a Pilates class, no problem. Like, why is it this big, like, ordeal when I try to go into a ballet class? Doesn't have to be like that.
That might be the most quotable part of this episode, that you view ballet class as a Pilates which is a Pilates.
I try to, because for a while, once I left, it was like this big emotional thing every time. So like my biggest goal was to kind of just like approach ballet in the same way like my boyfriend approaches his pickup basketball game, like easy
Yeah.
peasy, meeting up with some friends, call it a night, you know?
Yeah, crazy. I can never detach in that way.
It's hard. It's hard.
We've covered so many things, so we're gonna get into our
Yes.
final questions.
Mm.
You hindsight is everything, hindsight 2020, but you could go back and give your younger self a piece of advice, what would it be?
My goodness. To to be more confident in what I believed in and to have empathy for everyone around a little bit more. We're all going through something and it's not that deep. We can all laugh a little bit more through the process.
It's not that deep. That's always what I say. I'm
Mm,
like, "You guys, it's just a
it's not that
Christmas
deep.
recital.
Yeah.
It's a ballet recital, like, it's
We're
okay."
in a flower costume. Like it's not that serious.
It's quite literally, oh my goodness.
Yep.
If you had one key takeaway that listeners remembered from our conversation, what would it be?
Can I say it's not that deep again? I
I know,
think,
I walked you into that.
the major takeaway is to enjoy it and enjoy the process and enjoy every little moment, even enjoy, like, the not so fun parts of it, especially if you are a dancer listening. It goes fast. It goes so fast, and, remember who you are. It's all beautiful. As crazy and toxic as it can be, there's beauty in it too. And if anything, it makes some good stories for sure.
Really good stories. Real
Yes.
good. We can say that for sure. If you're not already following, where can everyone find you?
You can follow on Instagram, it's Lazy Ballerina Club, and on TikTok, it's Lazy Ballerina. And you can shop our second collection on lazyballerinaclub.com.
Yay, you guys. This has been
Yay!
so good. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, all the podcast things, but send this to someone that needs to hear this, ballet lover or ballet in a healing relationship with it or entrepreneur, whatever it is. Yay. Thank you for being here, and we will kick it with you guys next time.